Hey, as a clinician that works with complex trauma, one of the questions I get asked quite a bit is, will I ever recover? Will this diagnosis ever go away? And that's what this video is about today, is specifically related to PTSD. Will my PTSD ever go away? And hi, I'm Kim Long. I'm with Docha Psychological Services, and as always, this video is just intended for educational purposes, and it represents my opinion based on research and based on my experiences, personal and professional. So as always, take what you can from this video, and whatever doesn't really seem to fit for you, feel free to leave it behind. So we've done some other videos around what is trauma and what is PTSD, and I just want to summarize real quick. To meet the diagnosis of PTSD, there's very specific criteria for it, and many people that experience not so great traumas don't necessarily develop PTSD. So I just want to reassure you that just because you've experienced a trauma or a series of traumas, it doesn't mean that you're going to suddenly develop PTSD. And I think that there's a real fear around PTSD because it sounds horrible. It means you've gone through some really crappy things. It's an injury, another name that is being used particularly for people that work in industries where trauma is likely. It's also called occupational stress injury. I'm not a fan of that term because I feel like it minimizes it, but either way, that just for your information, that there is another term for it. So it sucks. It also doesn't mean that it's all of who you are. So I just want to start out by saying that any diagnosis does not define you, nor does it give you the opportunity to be a jerk to everybody. If I may be so bold as to say that. You're going to deal with symptoms that aggravate you at times, make it difficult for you to cope in the world. But it doesn't give you, you're still in control of your behavior, or you still have the responsibility to manage your responses to whatever it is that you're experiencing. So, okay, with that caveat, people are like, okay, but you're supposed to be talking about whether or not I'm going to recover from this. So I thought of an analogy. Many years ago, over 20 years ago now, it hurts me to say that, but anyway, I was in a cycling accident. And as a result, I ended up with a scar on my chin, several scars on my knee, and on top of that all, I have chronic back pain. Yay, I'm sounding, like I'm falling apart, but I'm fine. Anyway, the point being is that in that cycling injury, that was the first time I had hurt my chin. And it left a scar. And it hurt a lot while I was recovering from it. It needed stitches, and I still have a scar from it. And there's still, if I press it quite right, there's still a lump there. When I press on that lump, it still twinges. It doesn't hurt as bad, it doesn't make me cry, and I can cope with it, okay? It's still a trauma that happened to my face, but for the most part, I don't notice it. But then when if you were to look at my knee, which I'm not going to show you because that's weird, but if you were to look at my knee, I still have three, it almost looks like a claw mark on my knee. And that, I've injured my knee, the same knee, several times. And sometimes I ended up in a brace because of it, sometimes not. But my knee bothers me way more often than my chin does. Sometimes it cracks as I bend, sometimes it bends backwards, which is really weird and makes me want to throw up. But either way, the knee has experienced traumas over time that were short in nature, but traumas over time. So the likelihood of it bothering me more than my chin, more likely, I think you would agree. Okay, and I am getting to the point. Now, when I go to chronic back pain, Chronic back pain, I'm way more hypervigilant about and conscious about, because I'm to the point where if I sneeze while I'm standing the wrong way, my back will go out. And it's because it's been injured repeatedly, and some of those injuries have taken a really long time. Like that back pain or injury has been with me daily for a really long period of time, and I didn't get help for it as soon as I could have. So because of that, when my back goes out, I'm like cooked. It's hard for me to function in my world. I can't manage my emotions as well because of the nature of the pain. So because of that, I'm way more conscious of something happening to my back than even to my knee or my chin. That doesn't say that my chin never bothers me, and that doesn't say that my back bothers me all the time. But when it does go out, it's a big deal. So I would invite you to kind of relate that to PTSD. PTSD can occur because of one significant trauma, especially a trauma that has occurred over a length of time. That can make it complex. Or it can be multiple traumas, especially around the same kind of wounding. Like it's all, you saw me reach to my lower back. It's not that I've injured my back all over the place. It's always been in my lower back. So to have the same injury occur repeatedly, that can lead to PTSD as well. We'll stay away from criterion A because that's a whole other thing. The point being, short answer, will my PTSD go away? It depends. It depends on a lot of the factors that I mentioned around how soon do you get help, how chronic was the injury, were you pretty resourced before, all of those things. But the longer answer is kind of what I explained about the body parts, right? And I have a cheat sheet here, so I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Did you get help right away? The other thing is do you even want some of the symptoms to go away? So for example, some of my veterans, they rely on the hypervigilance. It makes them feel safe. They don't want that symptom to go away. And the reality is that once you've experienced a trauma, in my opinion, it's unlikely that the symptoms will completely go away. It depends on what happens in your world that pushes the button of the injury. And our goal in therapy is to make, like if you think of the box with the ball, you can find that image online. When the injury first occurs, the ball that is in that box with a button, like if you press the button in the box, the symptoms really flare. When the injury first occurs, the ball is really big, so that button is always getting hit. The goal with therapy, in my opinion, for PTSD is to make the ball a lot smaller so it's not always slamming into that button. Does the ball ever completely go away? No, because something crappy happened to you. The likelihood that you're always going to look at that event and kind of go, that really sucked, and have maybe a twinge about it, I think that's normal. There's things that happened in my past that even now, when I think of them, they make me sad, but it doesn't take over my life. I can recognize the sadness and move on in my day. It stays in the past where it belongs. That's the goal with PTSD treatment. I can't make the trauma go away, but I can, sorry, someone just came into the office. I can, however, really recover to a point where it doesn't take over my life. So I guess I'm saying that unfortunately, PTSD doesn't ever completely go away, but you might no longer meet the criteria for the diagnosis of it, meaning that the symptoms aren't so severe anymore that you're living a healthy, happy life. So as always, if you have any questions at all, please contact us and let us know, and we're here to support you in whatever way we can. And if you are struggling with PTSD, or if you have a family member who's struggling with PTSD, please know that you're not alone. And yeah, until next time, take care of yourself. Bye for now.